I have been collecting Motorized Thomas & Friends items for about 5 years now, and it's been a wild journey full of ups and downs, from insanely great deals to no, 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 well, let's just say, very poor financial decisions. And over time, weird things have happened, like the explosion of prices of sealed items. Including a $350 Plarail Edward, a $330 Trackmaster Thomas Makes a Mess, 2 Tommy Douglases for around $500, and even more insane asking prices. It's gotten to the point where hardcore collectors basically ruin the hobby, with outsiders who are only aware of the rarity of the items who scalp the hell out of them in hopes for doubling a profit when the item they're selling isn't worth that amount at all. Of course, there are some trains that were always going to be worth more than others due to being produced in lower quantities or being exclusive in some form. But these are traditionally rare items, not sealed versions of popular items that are common as dirt, to the point where there's a separate sealed Thomas Trains market, so to speak. But the actual rare and interesting motorized items have mostly maintained their value, or saw an increase in the last decade or so. And in this video, I'll be showing you mine. Before I begin, I should note that the valuations you're about to see are based upon recently sold auction listings, as well as my own personal appraisal when there isn't much sales information. With that being said, let's take a look at some of the rarest and most valuable motorized items in my collection as of 2025. I have a couple of honorable mentions of items I thought would be worth a lot more than what they are. First, some common characters, including Tommy Splatter, Fisher-Price Boko, and Plarail Victor. These aren't necessarily hard to find, but are less common compared to their counterparts. In this case, Trackmaster Splatter, Tommy Boko, and Trackmaster Victor. Speaking of the Plarail Victor, it's worth noting that the yellow variant, made for Blue Mountain Mystery, has become quite rare. I assume many prefer it over the Trackmaster version, which is a talking one that can't freewheel. Another item I thought would be more valuable is the Made in Japan James. He's definitely harder to come by in comparison to the other main engines, but surprisingly relatively cheap. I got mine from the States from a rather infamous source. Thanks, Kaiki. Alright, you all expected this one, but once again, for the people in the back, Tommy Oliver is not rare. He was mass-produced for almost 14 years in 3 countries. Yes, he is hard to find if you're buying from the US, but that doesn't mean you have to price him in the hundreds. I managed to get mine with his coaches on eBay for about $70. And no, you can't have him. Here's another case of an item being easier to buy outside America. A first edition 1992 Thomas, complete in box, even though the box isn't in that great of shape. If you're buying from a proxy site such as Buyee, Zen Market, or Joss, which is where I got mine from, you'll find one easily for pretty cheap. The first of the complete in box sets, the 1996 Thomas Freight Cars set. A pretty self-explanatory item. This is another one I got from Joss for a decent deal. If you want to hear more about this item in depth, check out the review I did. Here's one of the more recent items in my collection, the UK release of Talkin' Action Percy. Like Thomas and James, Percy received an international release in English-speaking countries like the UK and America. Previously, I owned the Japanese version, but the UK one was always my personal favorite. Sadly, he evaded me for some time. So once I managed to finally come across one for a reasonable price, I sold the Japanese one off to my friend Noah, who was able to fix some of the cosmetic issues he had. Glad that he went off to a good home. And right next to Percy is James, again the UK variant. Same as Percy, I originally had the Japanese version, but managed to find the UK one for a good price. So I listed the Japanese one for sale on my eBay, as I preferred the UK one. The second Plarail set on the list, which is actually the very first one. For being the very first train set in Plarail's Thomas line, it of course can be difficult to find, especially with the box. Like the Thomas Freight Cars set, I've done a standalone review of this set, so be sure to check that out if you haven't already. Another item in the Talkin' Action line, here's Gordon. Gordon was one of the characters that did not receive an international release outside of Japan, which has of course made him difficult to come by. I picked this up from Custom Thomas Michael Arnott on YouTube. Check out the review I did to see him in action. Here's an infamous variant, the Back and Go Thomas. This was exclusive to a set made as a tie-in with Misty Island Rescue. Funny how this movie that almost nobody likes spawned this absolute gem of a Thomas. Despite not being remote controlled, this Thomas has the ability to run forwards and backwards with a 3-way motor switch, making him quite unique when compared to the other engine characters in the range. Quite amazing that they were able to accomplish this without having to make him RC, and even more baffling that they've never done anything like this again. As a bonus, this Thomas also came fitted with a front coupler, allowing him to haul rolling stock in reverse. It's easily the definitive Plarail Thomas for many people. As such, he's quite sought after by collectors, and coupled with him being exclusive to this one set, he goes for, let's just say, way too much. I was lucky to find him on eBay for around $30, and of course snagged him immediately. Interestingly, he uses the old style painted face, albeit with the whitened eyes and teeth. This makes him the final Thomas in the Plarail range to use his original face. Not exactly sure why they didn't just give him the new standard face like on the regular Thomas, or even a different expression, but hey, it is what it is. Still a legendary gem of an item. Jumping back to Trackmaster with everyone's favorite movie tie-in, Action Canyon, based on the 2008 special, The Great Discovery. We all remember that commercial from the old days, an absolutely iconic Thomas playset, and one we all dreamed of owning. I sadly was not fortunate enough to own this as a child, but now as an adult with a bank account and too much free will, I do. I was actually able to pick this up complete and with the original box, which is not easy to do these days, which is why it's slightly higher on the list, despite being a popular entry in the Motorized Thomas line. The Trackmaster classics keep on coming with this beast, Talking Flip-Face Hiro, made to depict Hiro as he first appeared in the 2009 special, Hero of the Rails. As you might know, it's my absolute favorite Thomas movie, so I had to own this. Released at the tail end of the hit toy company lifespan, this goes for a hefty amount, even worn ones being listed for $150 and up. I did have to pay quite a bit to get him, but I don't think the prices are ever going to decrease. Certainly one of the most detailed and sought after items produced by Trackmaster. Another well-known face variant, Powerful Gordon, or Angry Gordon as some call him, released exclusively in Japan from 2001 to 2002, this Gordon was bundled with a red express coach and has an angry face, which perfectly captures Gordon's angry face in the show. He was also fitted with an advanced motor and extra weight to haul heavier trains than most Plarail engines. Unfortunately, it seems as if mine is a custom one, with the face and smokebox being glued to a standard Gordon body. Judging by the yellowing on his face, I assume the rest of his original body was heavily sun affected, so the seller swapped it with a newer one. However, he does retain all the extra weight that the original Powerful Gordon had, and still runs quite well. Another fan favorite item, and one I'm proud to own. Next up is the final Talkin' Action engine on the list, Diesel 10, released in Japan following Thomas and the Magic Railroad. Known for his fully articulated yet fragile Pinchy, this troublemaker is another iconic entry in Plarail's Thomas range. being the only one in the motorized line to give Pinchy any sort of movement besides the ability to open and close. While this is a cool feature, and a welcome one, unfortunately it is not the most sturdy, and most Diesel 10s that you find for sale nowadays have them broken off. Here's a fun one, the Metallic Thomas with Annie and Clarabelle, complete in box. Released in 2005 to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the Railway series. This item is a real looker. All three characters have been given this highly reflective sheen to them. Interestingly, the Thomas would later go on to be included in the 25 Years of Plarail Thomas pack released in 2017, albeit without Annie and Clarabelle. I've only seen a couple of these go up for sale on eBay, and ones in the box can go for as high as $260. I was more than happy to pick this up for far less than that, with the box included, even if not in pristine condition. The metallic variants of characters are a must for any serious Thomas collector. And here is the big one. The king, the overlord to every Plarail layout, Big Thomas. Released in every major country under multiple manufacturers, this beast isn't necessarily rare, but does go for a fair bit given its size. Many of these either have damaged or missing parts, or are heavily sun affected. If you're looking for one in good condition, be prepared to spend at least $300. I don't use this guy on layouts that often, but he is a fun item, one the range simply doesn't feel complete without. So that wraps up this video on the rare and valuable motorized Thomas items in my collection. I hope this weird flex was educational. Wait, I think I'm forgetting about a particular item, but it's not Thomas related, so it doesn't really need to be talked about. But I would have to say that it is the crowning jewel in my collection so far. So, what the heck? Let's just take a look at it. Here is the Tomica World F-Unit Amtrak locomotive. This is Tomi's take on the iconic Amtrak locomotive in real life. Tomy has a history of not just producing Thomas characters, but real trains themselves, similar to how Japan produces toys of real locomotives native to their country. The Amtrak train is highly sought after by collectors and was only available in one train set, never receiving a standalone release. Pretty much the only way to get him is to buy the entire set if you can find one for sale. It does not come up often, and I've seen it go for as high as $540. That sounds like an insane amount for what's essentially a toy train, but you'd be surprised how many people actually pay that much. I got lucky and received this in a lot, with a bunch of other Tomy items, including Big Thomas. While not a Thomas item, it still is an iconic standout in this collection, and also one of the most expensive. But not the most expensive. Finally, the most valuable thing in my motorized collection, Trackmaster's Spin and Fix Thomas, complete in the box. What? The box is empty? Well here's the instructions. My sources trust me, bro. Anyways, released in 2009 for Hero of the Rails, this set was another iconic one that captured the attention of me and many other children back in the day. Again, as Hero of the Rails was also my favorite Thomas movie, I of course wanted the set that included the new main location that it introduced. Unfortunately, this set always fetches a premium price on sites like eBay, consistently being listed for well over $600 if sealed in its original box. I was extremely lucky to find this set in the box on Facebook Marketplace for less than $100. Definitely one of my best deals, and easily one of Trackmaster's finest works. There are definitely more rare and valuable items that I'm looking to collect in the near future, so maybe I'll do an update or a part 2 to this video. Who knows? If you guys truly like it, then that'll let me know. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.